Millions of people are earning more money than they were a few years ago. New jobs, promotions, side income, better opportunities. On paper, things should feel easier. But for a lot of people, the exact opposite is happening. Life feels more expensive. Savings feel impossible. And no matter how much comes in, it disappears before the month ends. And the strangest part? You can't even point to where it went. No single bad decision. No obvious mistake. Just gone. Most people blame inflation. And yes, prices are up. The average American household spent $78,233 in 2024. Wages grew 3.8%. Spending grew 5.1%. The gap is real, but inflation is only part of what's happening because something more deliberate has changed underneath it. The way money moves through your life has been quietly redesigned, not in a way that feels alarming, in a way that feels completely normal. A subscription here, a convenience fee there, a quick purchase during a busy day. None of it feels like a real decision, but all of it adds up. And most people never notice the shift because it was built to be invisible. Here's what changed first. Spending used to be uncomfortable, not because people were more disciplined, but because paying required a physical act. You counted cash, you handed it over, you felt the transaction leave your hand. That small pause was friction, and friction created awareness. Awareness slowed down impulse. Now, think about how you pay for things today. Your card is saved, your fingerprint unlocks it, apps complete purchases before your brain has fully registered what just happened. There is almost no moment where you stop and feel the decision. And when spending becomes invisible, it becomes effortless. And effortless spending is dangerous spending. This wasn't accidental. Removing friction is one of the most studied strategies in modern product design. The faster a company moves you from wanting something to paying for it, the more you spend. That's the entire science behind it. Because modern companies don't just sell products anymore. They sell ongoing access. Subscriptions, memberships, premium tiers, recurring plans that quietly renew every single month. Think about how many services you're currently paying for. Streaming, music, cloud storage, apps, delivery passes, boxes arriving at your door. Each one felt like a small decision at the time. $9.99 here, $14 there, $6.99 somewhere else. But recurring payments are designed to disappear into the background of your life. You feel it once at sign-up. After that, it runs silently. And silent money loss is the most dangerous kind because your brain never flags it as a problem. Research shows the average person underestimates their monthly subscription spending by nearly 80%. Not slightly off, nearly double what they think they're paying. That's not carelessness. That's the system working exactly as it was built to. And then there's convenience itself, which has quietly become one of the most expensive things you buy. Take food delivery as an example. A meal that costs $12 at the restaurant becomes $22 on the app. Delivery fee, service fee, inflated menu price, tip, platform charges layered on top of each other. That's an 83% markup just for not driving. But because the process feels smooth, because there's no moment where you physically hand over money, the extra cost doesn't land the way it should. So you do it again and again. Someone ordering twice a week at that premium spends over $1,500 extra every year. Not on more food, just on the convenience of having it brought to them. Every layer of friction removed adds a layer of cost. That's the trade most people never read the fine print on. The same trick shows up in how major purchases get structured. Take something that costs $2,000, break it into $55 a month. Suddenly the brain says, fine. It reacts to the size of the payment, not the size of the commitment. And once something feels affordable monthly, the total price stops registering.
That's why buy now, pay later has grown so fast. It takes this even further. You get the item now. You feel a small payment later. The full cost never has to land in one moment. Research shows people spend 10 to 40% more when using these services than when paying upfront, on bigger items, on things they wouldn't have bought otherwise. The math doesn't change because the installments feel smaller. The total is still the same. The brain just stops seeing it clearly.
But spending habits aren't only being shaped by convenience and financing. Status plays a much deeper role than most people admit. A lot of what gets purchased isn't really about the product. It's about what the product says about you. Your phone isn't just a device. Your car isn't just transport. Your clothes, your trips, even where you eat. Each one carries social meaning beyond the function. And social meaning is expensive. Always. Because once a product becomes a signal, its price stops being tied to what it does and starts being tied to what it represents. That's why two products with nearly identical performance can have a $700 price difference. One does the job. The other tells a story. And people consistently pay more for the story. The question most financial content never asks is this: how many of your purchases are you making for yourself, and how many are you making for an audience, real or imagined? Because spending to maintain an image is one of the quietest drains on long-term wealth, and it almost never shows up on a budget. Then there's the pattern that does the most damage quietly. Small, repeated purchases. A coffee, a snack, a subscription you forgot about, a digital service you barely open. Individually, none of it feels like a financial decision, but the brain is not built to track patterns that unfold slowly. It focuses on moments, not accumulation. A $6 daily habit is $2,190 a year. Over 30 years invested, that's roughly $245,000. Not because the coffee is the enemy, but because the repetition was invisible to your instincts while it was happening.
And discounts make this worse, not better. When something is on sale, the brain stops asking whether you needed it and starts asking whether to take advantage. A discount is only savings if the purchase was necessary in the first place. But psychologically, it becomes permission. Permission to spend more than planned and feel smart about it. At some point, all of these patterns connect. Convenience, status, subscriptions, installment plans, psychological pricing, invisible repetition. They are not separate problems. They are different expressions of the same system. A system built to move you from attention to spending before you've consciously decided anything. And that's the real issue. Because most financial decisions aren't made through careful calculation. They're made through habit, emotion, and environment. Which means the biggest shift doesn't start with earning more. It starts with noticing what used to feel invisible. Once that awareness develops, something changes.
You begin to pause where you used to move automatically. You begin to question what used to feel like a default. You begin to separate what you actually want from what you were guided into wanting. That one shift is worth more than any budgeting app or savings challenge. Because wealth isn't destroyed by one big mistake. It's quietly shaped by thousands of small decisions that went unexamined. The goal isn't to stop spending. It's to start seeing. Because once you see the system clearly, you stop moving through it unconsciously. And that is where keeping your money actually begins. If this made something click for you, subscribe. I put out videos every week on how money actually works in 2026. No recycled advice, no fluff. See you in the next one.